Blog Talk Radio.
First World Order Radio, finally, we are on the air. No doubt. All right.
There's always going to be somebody in the building on First World Order Radio.
We get on into some of that order consciousness tonight.
First World Order Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m.
We got to talk about what is taking place on the planet.
There's always going to be somebody in the building on First World Order Radio. First, we need to let you know we're going to be doing more shows, giving out more information on Wednesdays. Wednesday at 8 o'clock, we are now going to make this the hottest day of the week.
Preceding levels in time, order, importance. The most prominent parts, voices, or instruments. Earthly state of human concerns and existence. An indefinite multitude, quantity, or distance. System regulates to bring about specifics in the root based on value and natural characteristics. Current radiates electromagnetistics of sound through the air, same as your thoughts transmits it. Preceding levels in time, order, importance. The most prominent parts, voices, or instruments. Earthly state of human concerns and existence. An indefinite multitude, quantity, or distance. System regulates to bring about specifics in the root based on value and natural characteristics. Current radiates electromagnetistics of sound through the air, same as your thoughts transmits it.
You need to understand how magical this something like this every Wednesday can become. So you need to start getting your calendar right, get your schedule right. You need to know our intention straight out.
All right, so these clues are given throughout the various languages was to piece the puzzle of this ancient mystery school back together again.
And what we plan on doing, both of us, is bringing y'all some surefire dynamite. We're going to take this level up a notch. We're going to have stuff to do here. This is not just going to be about philosophies and theories, shit that works.
You have an activated pineal gland in which that produced this black chemical called melanin.
What we did was gave a hard line in the sand between the different definitions of esoteric study and exoteric study. Playtime is over.
I don't need to be a dope boy, my poetry is dope enough. Trapping interstellar while my third eye open up. See through all the lies that y'all telling with a straight face. Return of the luminous ones. Y'all better make way to find a chapter. Find a collapse on all you politicians. They politicking how to lead a world, no pot to piss in. The way I think is more deep and in the Grand Canyon. I guarantee this black man would be the man standing. My premonition matched the Olmec calendar. It's always accurate like a lightweight challenger. For all you wicked witches and the Wizard of Oz, you and that man behind the curtain, yeah, y'all fixing to fall. Only a matter of time before shit hit the fan. Here's an idiot's guide for you on how to get a man. I don't need a bunch of homers to ride or die with me. I can call on Hey Roo to fly the skies with me. We going through the transition and that's all she wrote. Put on my uncle, gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back for ancient times to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned to the birth. We going through the transition and that's all she wrote. Put on my uncle, gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back for ancient times to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned to his birth. When I'm riding on this city streets, never really miss a beat. To the point of no return, lest I turn another cheek. Catch me on my daily box, smooth as I wanna be. Just being me, never chillin' with the wannabes. God in the flesh, dated bad sister lectures. Because my history is more than they can understand it. My melanated skin, scar brush from the astro. I'm made of dark energy created from black holes. No thyself, the only one you can lean on. I got some scoop bush that y'all can break y'all weed on. Our hair is Martin Luther King and slave ships. But what about the underwater cities and spaceships. My mystical mind, we had the government covering. But if the OMAD will fly away like a mothership, where African people were the real Anunnaki, wearing feathers on their heads just a few feet taller than me. Through the transition, and that's all she wrote. Put on my auntie, gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back from ancient times to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned to the birth. We going through the transition, and that's all she wrote. Put on my auntie, gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back from ancient times to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned since birth. Yo, don't look at me the same, I ain't nothing like I used to be. Upgraded daily through the lies and all the foolery. My dream became lucid, I travel back in time, collecting life data for my subconscious mind. That father let me know that anything is possible by pulling down the universe through my crown chakra. Manipulate the energy is all an illusion. Knowing who you are kills all the confusion. While 85% judge off my appearance, I use alchemy to create the world potential. My lyrics turn divas right back into queens. While dope boys are think twice, appearing back on the scene. Everybody gone mad, blaming media outlet. The new black Hollywood, chosen straight out of projects. Homo agenda war, sucking up to the master, while the whole community going up in disaster. We going through the transition, and that's all she wrote. Put on my auntie, gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back from ancient times to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned to the birth. We going through the transition, and that's all she wrote. Put on my auntie, gave my Jesus peace back to the Pope. Came back from ancient times to bring heaven on earth. I was the last golden child that returned since birth. Since birth. Since birth.
Peace. Back once again with your host, Dr. El-Bey. All right, we're going to try to get in tonight. Got some good information for you coming up. But before we get into the information, let me call on my co-host, Brother Fahim El. Are you here, brother?
Hey, I tell you, Washington East, Dr. Alim.
Hey, I tell you, Washington East. How you doing tonight, brother?
Doing well, God. Very well. How's God doing tonight?
Excellent. All right, well, we're going to get into the cover-up of Melanated Extraterrestrials, the Mandela Effect, and PSYOP Ops programs. All right, but I got a little thing to go over before we bring on our special guest. Let me see here. Before I pull up the video and play it, let me talk about Norman Bertrand. All right, give some of his credentials. If you never read the book, The Rainmaker of Saturn, the book is going for over $1,500 right now on Amazon. All right. When you look into his background and his credentials, he began as an alumnus of Ames Research Laboratory, NACA, which is the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, which is the predecessor to Ames Research Center at NASA. He worked for 12 years as a research scientist. All right, that's just a little bit of his background. So we want to play what he stated about this 7 feet or more tall black people from outer space coming from off the ship. This is what he says.
People have asked me No, I did not call it. That was 2 years for me.
Okay.
I had it. I said, "God, come on." All of these they can prove, they're just like a missile. So, where would you manufacture one that's 2.5 earthquakes long? And that's our first.
Are you not that those vehicles contain beings who are like us?
If you want to know about people kind of thing, there is the chip.
People with dark skin, black skin. Were they tall? Very tall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever been in touch with him? No?
All right, you heard him. The lady asked him, dark-skinned beings. He said, no, black. And then asked how tall were they? And he said at least 7 feet. And he repeated it. So this is a former NASA advisor and scientist stating that off-heat craft came tall, dark-skinned brothers. All right, so we're going to bring on our guests. Fleurbrun, if you're here, please hit 1 so I can bring you on in.
Peace, guys.
Peace. How you doing, guys?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Nice to be on again, gentlemen.
Excellent, excellent. We ready for you. You know what you need to
Well, you started that off. You started popping off right away, yeah.
Well, I just needed to get some verification for you, that's all.
I love it.
You know, coming from NASA, you know, as Dr. Collins say, now they have it in black and in white.
That's right. Well, you started off with, I'm sorry, with, Bergman really goes into detail in his book. I don't have the book, but I know a couple of people who actually purchased the book for the amount of money that's ridiculous. Norman Bergman, his background alone verifies that he's not some quackadoodle off the street. And even when he spoke on, you know, I have issues with Project Camelot, especially with, you know, the particular interviewer there. I won't give her any credence, but, you know, just the fact that they try to deviate him away from saying always trying to say if it's dark meat, they'll say brown or dark colored. They never want to denote that it's a black or negroid, and that's why in a lot of videos you'll hear me use the word negroid, because what I've noticed in the white community is that anytime they talk about black people, they always try to make it seem like it's something else other than what looks like us. And if you don't denote that it's a negroid background or a person of color, you know, they'll say person of color, they'll say darker entity, they'll try to, you know, deviate you away from that actual vision of it being something similar to us brown people, us black people. And I'm glad that that actually came out. I really thought, you know, at least she actually put out the video, because I've heard that there's a lot of other videos that have been clipped with information regarding our connection, both colors, to our galactic family. And as probably some of the viewers already, the listeners already know, is about the Dogon tribe, who, you know, a beautiful, colorful tribe in West Africa. They speak on their extraterrestrial lineage. I mean, they speak about the Nomos, which was a race of, they were type of, like frog-looking people, amphibious type of beings that came from Sirius B, from the star Sirius B. And they spoke about the star Sirius B before scientists even discovered it. And this is hundreds of years prior, because I think the scientists discovered Sirius B, don't quote me, I think 1970, I believe. And the Dogon tribe was speaking about that, and this is their historical, you know, information that they've had for hundreds of years prior to having any, you know, astronomical devices to be able to confirm
right.
that. So,
as a matter of fact, just seen Sirius C in 1995.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So they just seen Emiya, because you have Ziggy Tolo, Polo Tolo, and Emiya. Emiya is Sirius C. They just seen that in 1995. So, yes, even though they documented the Dogon speaking about it in the 1930s, it wasn't until 40 years later that it was verified.
Wow. Isn't that interesting? But they kind of thought it was something like, you know, just folklore, maybe something they were making up until they can verify it scientifically, and then it was verified. And also the Nomos, even though we talk about the Nomos being amphibious, really, you know, and this shows how society and the way white supremacy kind of flip modes everything. Those Nomos that came here were really like mermen and merwomen. The mermaids that we hear South Africans having interaction with, they were having trades with these people that were living in the water that were melanated, highly melanated brown people that they had a connection to. And some of us even believe that they had maybe some genetic connection to them, because some of the children were being born in some of those tribes with fused legs and some of the features of some of the mer people. So I believe maybe there was some mixing and hybriding going on there, and they had a interaction with them. I remember the Egyptian goddess Isis at one point was depicted as a mermaid from Sirius. So this is all coming from that small, little, simple, what they consider a simple tribe, who had all this phenomenal knowledge about their connection to the Cosmo people, you know, their cosmic family.
Well, Isis, or said her name also was Mary, M-E-R, or as you do to say, mermaid later on.
That's right.
So we see that the word Mer means sea or illusion. It's the same as the word Maya, you know, within the Aztec and Incas and, you know, Toltec and, you know, the rest of the Native American tribes. They also had that name for the illusion also, which stems from Maya or Mer, which means sea or illusion. So definitely.
Isn't that interesting that all these different cultures that were not necessarily side by side geographically had a lot of this information? And how were they able to get this information, though they were living on separate parts of the planet? Where were they getting the same information from if it wasn't for something that was coming from above? Who else we have? Yes. We have Credo Mutwa, which we all know, which is David Icke's, I need to call him David Icke because David Icke did bring him out to the forefront. But, you know, he's a Zulu healer from South Africa. Wonderful man. He has wonderful stories about his encounter with the extraterrestrials, all different types, especially the little blue people that used to come and interact with the children. We have that.
Right.
And who else you got? You have so many different accounts of people from the past, tribes in Africa, and also people here who've had encounters with melanated, black, Negroid ETs. And it's interesting that even to this day, as I've been in this world a while now, and I speak to many a contactee, people who've had encounters, both white, black, different cultures, different races, different backgrounds. And it's so interesting that even in 2016, many of the people I speak to that are of European descent have the hardest time wanting to come out when they're obviously having contact with these melanated beings. And they feel uncomfortable. It's almost like something inside of them makes them feel like this is not something they want to bring about. And I think it really has to do with some of their fears that this information coming out to maybe us would make us feel, I don't know, maybe more empowered. Because if we knew that we were connected, some of us, we're all different, not all brown and black people are from the same, just because we're all brown and black, we're not of the same genealogy either. That's just something
right.
that, white supremacy kind of meshed us all together in this little niche, and it's not true.
Right.
But I think they kind of keep it to themselves because they think if that comes out, it's going to empower us, and we'll get a little bit more information to maybe break out of the control system that we're under. So.
Yeah, I think the types have a lot to do with that too. What we're noticing is that, of course, we know the various blood types. That O negative blood is the oldest blood type. Then, of course, O positive, and then A negative, then A positive, and B negative, then B positive, and then AB negative, AB positive. What we notice is that, right, those with the negative types, these individuals have the ability, as we talked about before, to have slits in their eyes, especially when it comes to emotional issues or something in which that disrupt the emotional field or astral body, or what is also referred to as your auric field. It can be disrupted, and you gave some information on that the last time you was here, and I thought that was very interesting.
The blood types are very telling, and I wanted to add that a lot of mothers are not able to get the blood types of their children. I mean, it's not. I know I'm going to make a joke about it, but it's very serious that mothers are leaving hospitals now, giving birth to children, and are not able to get their children's blood type. And we're finding out that new blood types are showing up, and they don't want people to know. And we think that they're hybridating people at a high rate, and to the point where these new star seeds coming in are not the same children that were born previously.
Interesting point. You're right, because now all of a sudden they're finding all types of different variations of blood types now, definitely beyond the 4 basic blood types.
And we're starting to see, I've spoken to several doulas, midwives, women who are giving birth in hospitals and outside of, private hospices that are giving birth to children with an extra finger and an extra toe, 6 toes, 6 fingers, and that's becoming quite normal. And that's also, from what I know, is one of the characteristics of Anunnaki bloodline.
That is the
from
truth.
what we've heard. Yeah.
That's right. O negative blood types, it stems from them, but that was a trait in which that was just for them at that time. I mean, even the Bible speaks about Benjamin being born with 6 fingers on each hand.
Yeah, yes, it's one of the traits, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's definitely there. I went to school with a girl named Natasha. I think I was in kindergarten, and she had 6 fingers.
Exactly. And if they, it's functioning too a lot of times.
Yeah.
But we're seeing that aspect coming out, but also, there was a couple of the tribes were also saying that the Anunnaki would return at this time. And from the best of my knowledge and what I'm hearing from people, and I speak to people everywhere, whether it be in Finland or the Netherlands or, in Africa, in Nairobi, and, Egypt, wherever it is, we're hearing of accounts of really tall, not to say it doesn't happen in Africa, you see very tall black people in Africa, obviously, and Europe, because, remember, there's a big influx of immigration in Europe with Africans as well. But a lot of people are noting these strange-looking people that are very, very, very tall, that's abnormally tall, and with weird type of behavior, non-behavioral patterns, I should say. Just very odd individuals. And I believe, personally, I believe that we have a return of some of the ancestors coming back. And at this time, this would be the time that they would return, because we've, there's a planet that comes back at a certain time after a certain amount of years of rotation, and it comes back into our general atmosphere outside of the Earth. And I don't know that it's a planet, more a mothership.
Right. Well, I mean, they call it Planet X, Nibiru, or Nebaru,
yes.
Or actually it's the star Emiya, which is Sirius C on
Yes.
Right. So it's not a planet; it's actually a star, and we go travel around Sirius A, B, and C in an elliptical pattern every 25,000 years. So actually, it's symbolic to a renewal of history, and yes, the return of these ancient ones of Anunnaki, which means those that fell from up there to here. At least based on Zechariah Sitchin's translation, I see it more as Anu as being up there on high, and Naki being the serpent on high, which esoterically is symbolic to Kundalini raised into the crown and the third eye chakra. So, these individuals have returned. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. And also the home court advantage of the European is over. We go through cycles, and their cycle is ended. And every culture, and if you consider races to be a niche, I would say a niche, they all go through cycles where they rise and they fall. And we are at the end of a cycle of the Europeans, and at this particular time, we are going back into the home court advantage. It's what you would consider those ancestral seedlings of the Anunnaki. I see the change. Not everybody's seeing it, but what you're seeing is like upheaval, but really what it is a clearing of way. Everything has to be cleared out. Everything, that's why everything with the people of color is being illuminated. We knew about homeboys getting killed in the hood. It always happened. But why now is it being documented and we're seeing it on television? That's not for us. We knew it happened. It's for others to see that.
Indeed. I mean, recently there's articles coming out that the Black Lives Matter is being funded by George Soros.
I believe it.
That's who's cutting their checks. So, I mean, it's best that we come back into understanding of self, like what you're referring to and talking about, as compared to just going out and following haphazardly.
Absolutely. I mean, we're just to remember who we are. That's basically what only thing we have to do to return to a more a balanced state of being. Once we remember who we were and we open up those parts of our memory and our codons, because all memories are within yourself. All memories. It's just a matter of you being able to access it. And with all the foods, the chemtrails, and, your bad behavior, questionable behavior, I should say, it can hinder you having access to those information. If I'm drinking Hennessy every Friday night or every day, it might hinder my ability to access certain informational codons that would be released to me when I'm mature enough, or I get to a certain spiritual vibrational level where I can access that to go to the next level of, of heightened spirituality. But if I'm not matching a vibration of that particular memory, I won't be able to access it. It's almost like a video game. If you don't, if you're not doing well again, in your video game, and you're not to a certain level, you're not going to get access to certain perks. You know what I mean? So we just have to, we have to look within and not look out, because everything inside of us is a mirror to what happens in our environment. And if we play into all this, supposed violence and all that stuff, we're not going to be able to move on to the next stage of evolution. And it's happening whether we want it or not, but it just quickens the moment if you can just release, obsessing with anything outside of you. That's all. Fix you, and you fix the world.
Indeed. I know you want to talk about the Mandela effect also.
It had us bugging out for a couple weeks. We were on a rampage. The Mandela effect is kind of like the theory that there are parallel universes that exist.
That's right.
Simultaneously to us, and at any given moment, you can go in and out of these parallel universes based on maybe your vibration changing, or maybe someone, this is my theory, someone messing with the timeline and changing. I believe that some people have hijacked our timeline. And,
that's where, like in the movie Matrix, when Neo seen the black cat and he said deja vu.
Yes, that's it. The deja vu, and that's actually true. And and I talked about before is that whenever you experience, I didn't experience deja vu. It was 2012. I remember this specifically because I was getting deja vu like quite a few times. Around
Me too.
the time, right?
2012 was a serious year because. Yeah, even with me, I know I remember seeing I was experiencing a whole lot of deja vu experiences at that time, too.
I think they were messing with the timeline. But from after that, I really didn't get it. I don't even remember having it for a couple of years. Then all of a sudden, it started to come back within the last couple of weeks before the Mandela effect. And I was like, something's going on. I do research. The Mandela effect comes into play because then you start looking and you find this phenomenon called the Mandela effect where things are changing, little things. So let's just say, so people know what we're talking about. Let's say everyone remembers Mandela in South Africa. Now, some people's memory, I don't know what you remember. Let's play this. What do you remember? Do you remember Mandela dying in prison, or do you remember him getting freed and becoming president?
Right. Everybody allegedly remembers him being free and becoming president.
But I thought that too. But I've spoken to 10 people who remember him dying in prison and remember the funeral of Black Cat.
Yeah, see?
So how could we have such a strong variance? How about
I remember this too. I remember looking in Black's Dictionary, 2nd edition, in which that is stated that Aborigines, which is referring to us, so-called Black, were not citizens of the United States. I went back later on that following year and seen that the definition was no longer there in that same way. So I know exactly what you're talking about because I've experienced it personally on several accounts. And I'm like, hold up, I know this was here. I know I wrote it down. I got it right here.
Do you see what I mean?
Down, but it's not here. Yes. Somebody's been tampering with the timeline. But even in Richard Hoagland, he spoke about, I remember on Coast to Coast years ago, in the mid-'90s, after the mid-'90s, I think around 96, 97, he was talking about hyperdimensional physics, in which that scientists found at least 27 different dimensions.
Yes, and they confirmed it. They just talked about that on Science Times a couple weeks, 2 weeks ago. They say that this actually exists. So you're saying to yourself something like that, like Sex. I remember Sex in the City. Some people, because I watch that show, I'm a New Yorker, so I watch Sex in the City.
Right.
Most people
exactly.
Some people remember Sex and the City. I was like, that's crazy. It doesn't even sound right. Sex and the City. Just little things like that, little changes, and I love that you referenced the Matrix and Neo walking in the room with the black cat and saying, did that black cat change in any way? That's what it is. It's a glitch. They change something, but it only changes little aspects of reality. So it's something so slight, like a spelling of Bernstein Bears or Bernstein Bear. Something so slight that we don't really notice it, and if we do notice it, we'll just write it off as, maybe I just misspelled it, or maybe I misinterpreted what I remembered, which a lot of do.
Right, it's just like I remember reading. Right, I remember reading and Behold the Pale Horse, written by William Bill Cooper. I remember reading where he stated that CIA statistics for so-called blacks was over 80 million. I went back and looked through the whole book 3 times, didn't find the quote, but I know I remember seeing that quote back in when I first got the book, back in the early to mid-'90s.
Yeah.
So there's some serious playing going on here with this timeline, what you're talking about. Because I know for sure
that
well,
all of this for sure.
Exactly. But what will bug you out even more? Try to look for the papers that you wrote it on. See, this is when it gets like freaky because people, like someone like you who's really big into knowledge and history, you'll write it down. You'll take notes. Try to look. This is the crazy part. You try to find where you wrote it down and everything is gone. It's gone. You can't. I have a book. I have Little People. So I have the Bernstein Bears. I know the Bernstein Bears because I grew up on it. I'm a woman of a certain age. I'm in my 40s. But I know how to spell Bernstein Bears. It's E-I. I looked and I had their book in my house when I was researching the Mandela effect. I was like, no, it can't have changed. Don't you know I'm looking for the book that I've had in my house for always, and it is gone. The one in my house. So when I go to the library, it is Bernstein Bears, which A-I-N, which is crazy. And that's why it seems like it almost seems like very, it's wild. It's like a trip. It's like a trip.
But
and
the
you have to
the fact is that we can remember.
Yeah.
That's the scary part to them, is because we're not supposed to remember these things.
We're not, but that's because they're doing it too much. Remember, if they did it once, it's different. They're doing it several times. They're trying to fix things, and I personally believe that the murders and the assassinations of the President Kennedy, from my research, also Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, I believe that a bunch of Nazis from the future, this might flip people out because they'll be like, oh, Fleurbrun's going on a tangent, but this is my personal belief. If you can believe that timelines can be changed, I believe some entities from the future came back and changed time, and it was a bunch of Nazis, and what they did is they hijacked the timeline with us, and they killed anyone that had to do with our uprising, because we were supposed to ride our consciousness. We're on a timer. We're melanated people. Our pineal gland, everything's on a timer. We're supposed to rise and awaken at a certain time, and you saw that in the 60s. But what they did, they hijacked it, and any leader or anybody who would invoke us to become fully conscious, they murked them. And I believe that was the reason why Martin Luther King was murdered, also Malcolm X, also quite a few other people. I'm just using buzz people that we know. Kennedy, I believe they were murdered to basically alter our perspective in our future.
Right.
But they can only do that if we know that the timelines can be altered, but also we know that the universe does balance everything out. So even though we may be experiencing a shift in our timeline, it will level itself out. So it doesn't matter how many times they change it, their results will never be what they want. And that's why they keep doing it over and over, trying to get a different result. It's not going to happen.
Right. And what specific beings do you believe that is actually tampering with the timelines?
Well, this is my theory. I believe in the future we're going to have, at this particular time, the second and third sun are coming into play. And it's causing the magnetic field to be really, really strong. And the only people who were able to live on the surface of the planet were the original people, which are copper people, brown people, and more people, black people. It is a way also, we have entities that were created genetically, GMOs. I call them GMOs. I want to be, politically correct. That were created almost like an experiment, and they were only supposed to be here for a certain period of time. That time is done. So the planet does its own disinfection of anything that's not natural to it. So those people who are on the surface of the planet who cannot deal with the magnetic energy end up going underground. And we know that they're building tons of underground facilities. Excuse me. And we know that there is a physical pole shift as well as a spiritual pole shift. We shift inside, and as we shift and rise up and become conscious awake, we create a shift of the paradigm. That's what causes the pole shift, is when we wake up. And then we go back into the reverse, which is actually in our right direction. The Nile River went in a different direction at one time. So these entities, which are Europeans that go underground, they don't have a strong enough gene pool to be able to survive genetically. So they start to inbreed their their genealogy becomes more receptive, even more than it is, and their trait becomes more blue-eyed and blonde-haired. I believe those entities in the future had access to time-traveling technology, and I believe that they traveled back towards when the Nazis got their information. And all these people who are saying that the Pelagians, I don't think they're Pelagians. They are not. They're white people that were underground. That's why the Nazis had this obsession with blonde hair, blue eye, because these entities were living in the ground, and they weren't able to get sunlight, and they weren't able to mix with people of color. So they're all very pale and blue-eyed and blonde hair. And that's why the Nazis had obsession with it. It wasn't because they were blonde hair, blue-eyed. It's because these entities that had all this great technology that seemed like ETs came to them with all this wonderful information about what to do futuristically, and they gave them this information, you know, with an exchange. And I believe that's who's doing the timeline hijacking. That's just my theory.
Right, the so-called Ashtar beings, as they refer to themselves.
Yes, they're not ETs. They are parasitic. They are archonic. They're vampiric. They feed off of the energies of people. They're not able to, but again, in the future they change. Living underground, it changes their genetics, and also they become a little more psychic too. So, again, I believe that's them, and also I believe that people who are having these experiences with these so-called Pelagians are having experience with these entities.
Right. Do you? What part does the Greys play in this, as far as their connection to the Ashtar beings, or as they refer to them?
Yeah, I believe the Greys also depreciated human beings that were, highly. There's a couple different types of Greys. So I believe the ones that associated with them are these beings that used to be human, but because of the radiation and all that craziness that happens in the future for them and living underground, they become these like robotoid-looking gray little things. Or they could just be hybrid type of, how they test tube babies that they create, like robotoids type of things that they utilize.
Them children with them black eyes, them whole black eyes. I believe they're created. I mean, there's all different types of Greys, but I think the ones that they're utilizing are those. Right. Val Valerian speaks about that within his Matrix books 1, 2, and 3, and 4. That they were biosentient beings. That was possibly created by he referred to them as the reptilians, but we know them really as the so-called Ashtar beings, or as you were saying, those who claim to be the Palladians. Of course, we know they're not.
Yeah.
But yes, definitely. I see the point. Excellent.
And I don't want to disrespect. I'm not trying to disrespect, because a lot of the Palladian people get really offended when I speak about. Again, these are things that I'm surmising, just with what I've been researching, and it doesn't mean it's full proof or anything like that. I'm willing to change based on anything that I learn today, tomorrow, from you, from anyone. But what I see a lot of times is a lot of these Europeans do a lot of channeling, and we know that when you channel,
there's more and more of them saying that these beings aren't Palladians, that they are possibly reptilians. From their research, so I'm seeing more Europeans saying that themselves. So you don't have to apologize for anything. Like you say, we're open to discussion.
I try to be as open-minded too, because nothing can be solidified really. We're just all learning, and I always tell people I am not a teacher. I'm just someone sharing the information that I'm researching and hoping to get pieces of the puzzle myself. The only reason I came out and did this, and I was having contact experience from a child, and now that I speak to a lot of brown people, black people are having contact experiences, and it's beautiful, but it's sad we don't share it,
Right. I had my first one at the age of 9 when a UFO hovered like 150 yards over top of my head. I mean, it was so close. I was able to see it was so close. I was able to see the beings in the craft. And the lights was going around it, in and out around the craft in the colors of the chakras. Roy G.
Yes, that's our people though.
And and that happened when I was 9 years old, walking, back to my building, to the apartment in Coney Island in New York.
See, but this is another thing. This is another thing that was that we've been that documentation has misled us to believe that you cannot have contact or abducting experiences in the middle of the urban cities, and that's not true. A lot of
that's definitely not true.
Right. Not true. Not in cornfields. I'm saying that does happen. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but I'm saying a lot of the people I talk to, like you, are having it straight up in the middle of the city. Not everyone can see the craft because obviously we know they have a hologram, and only when that craft is associated with your DNA can you have access to seeing it. That's another thing. That's your people you're seeing. Right. That's why you can see it. It's associated with you.
That's right.
And also, some people are getting confused when they see certain crafts. Like when you see the colors of the chakras in different colors, that's magnetic energy they're using to propel that or using to drive that vehicle. Whereas opposed to the white one, which is reverse engineering that a lot of the governments have utilized, and they have crafts that look like UFOs, but they were reverse engineered technology that they patent from crafts. Ships. And those are white ones. Those are used with electronic, not magnetic energy.
Right, or even metal ships, in which that even a book is called Man-Made UFOs, 1943, 1993, if I'm not mistaken, speaks about that. You know, it comes all the way up from, like you were saying, with the Nazis, you know, putting together their crafts and how that information was taken over by the OSS, you know, brought into the United States, forming NASA, you know, as well as the CIA in the 1950s. You know, and them continuing on with that technology into Area 51 and different other places. So
Thank you.
Definitely.
And also, we have to denote that a lot of people that say that the Nazis left and went to the inner Earth, I would have to clarify it wasn't the inner Earth they were going into. If they went anywhere, it was to those underground bases with those already degenerated, blonde hair, blue-eyed, depreciated beings that they had contact with.
Right.
I personally don't believe, because the inner Earth beings, that's a whole other conversation. We can say that another time. But the inner Earth beings are higher conscious beings, and they don't want any of that. They won't allow your energy. First of all, your vibration, because when I've had contact with the other beings, your vibration doesn't match. You'll disintegrate, or your brain would be highly affected. You have neurological damage. There's no way you can go in there without matching frequency. So I know that's not true.
Right. You're definitely right, because there's actual, we call them light beings or lava beings. Jabalo Melchizedek, which I'm part of the order of the order of Melchizedek and the flower of life initiation up under Jabalo Melchizedek, and he broke down, you know, how these lava beings are some of the beings in which that exist in the earth. So we know that Dr. Malachi York speaks about the Deros, the Teros, you know, so forth and so on. You know, it's just it's so many beings and so different.
Oh my God.
Dr. Deborah Blair speaks about how the earth is like honeycombed. You know, there's caverns galore, and we know that. I mean, we go to any mountainous area, and there's caverns all over the place.
Oh my God! And a lot of us are not even taken. Well, I just got these. I forgot who they were, and I wanted to bring them up. There's like a preacher. It was a fellow contactee. She brought about this preacher. He's in Africa. He exercises. He gets rid of demons and people, but the bugged out part about it is a whole bunch of black people, but he exorcises them from the mer people, saying that they go under the water, and he's trying to get these people to stop going and mating with the mer people under the water. It's bugged. Like it's a culture. He's taking these people are having dreams about going underneath the water, mating with their old lovers in the underground caverns with these mer people. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of Africans from certain tribes are mixed with them. They're from that genealogy. And they're having being contacted by them. And, you know,
I know there's a tribe in Africa right now called the ostrich people, because their feet separates like ostriches.
Yes, I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that coming from? What kind of is that?
Exactly.
See, this is the thing we can't even fathom. and that's why when we use terms like people say, all the reptilians are negative, I said we can't fathom. It's like saying human beings. There's so many different types of human beings. There's black ones, brown ones, different cultures, different different religious beliefs. You can't blanket a whole race of something that you don't even know about. You can't. We can say we know that they exist, but we don't know to what degree that they are on each level, because there's so many different types. So, thank you. Sorry. So, I mean, I always tell people, be mindful. We're all learning, and try not to, unless we know for a fact, because there's certain ETs obviously don't want to have any contact with. And you hear a lot of times, and to be honest, certain people are more likely to get an abductee experience than a contact experience. And from what I've learned, not to say people of color don't get abductee experiences where they get eggs taken from them. There are those who get that, but you'll hear more pleasant experiences from people who are brown, Aboriginal. We get more pleasant experiences, and the Europeans are being experimented on. They're getting more traumatic.
Right. And we won't be speaking about them anal probes. That's how that became a comedian joke.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I mean, this is the type of things you're hearing, and that's why it's interesting when I came out to talk to other people about my experiences. Some of the experiences I was having were so drastically different from theirs. It made me question what I was going through. Because I'm like, well, it's not happening to me.
Right.
You know, when I'm taken up, it's almost like I'm home with family. I know where I am. I feel a presence of love, and not so much love, but just knowing, just familiarity. You know, like I know who's there. I generally am taught things. It comes from such a wonderful base, and I'm wondering. I wondered why they were having. Now we know that a lot of white people have been genetically modified by ET.
Right.
And again, why a lot of this information is being hidden, we know why. But now I'm seeing that more and more people are coming out. You got. I think, do you know Maury, what's his name, Maury Rivera Toro? He did this is like, his video is like viral. He's like the Puerto Rican guy got abducted in Puerto Rico, a whole bunch of others. And he said, and they talked to him, they got to him before he did the interview. He said, I was taken by black, I love it. I want to do a remix of this. Black ETs, but not Negro. That's what he says. But not Negro. Who says that? Like, nobody even says that. Nobody would even, he's from Puerto Rico, and I know a lot of Puerto Rican people. I'm from the islands myself. It's just not, it wouldn't be natural for him to even state that. Why would you say black and then not Negro? What are you trying to hide? And come to find out, they did not want him to state, even in the UFO community, they didn't want him to state that it was a black ET, a Negro ET that he had contact with. And it wasn't a negative experience he had. It was pretty pleasant. And from then, he's been a little apprehensive about talking about that because of that aspect that the ETs were melanated ETs. And we know that they exist because you got Olmec heads on every corner of the planet. Where is that coming from? They're in parts of Asia. They're in Europe. They're in the Americas. They're in South America. I mean, where are the Olmec heads coming if we did not have these melanated ETs? Who left those big heads? That some of them mimic some of the things on Mars. Who left those? I know if I had a head that looked like that, how do you have a head that looks like an Olmec head statue in South America and then have the same one in China? The same one. Who's doing that back then? Except somebody who was able to travel at the speed of light, on a craft that did not work for us, at least. And they were able to travel and leave their mark. And they existed there. And I don't believe that black people all came from Africa. I think we're all over the earth, personally. I think the Native Americans here look just like me and you, and the natives and just like the Eskimos look like me and you, and people in South America, and I'm talking about the core, look like me and you. I think that's all a lie to make us seem like we're all from one part of the earth and not all. We lived all on the surface, cold, warm, everything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We're the natural indigenous type people that existed here, that were seeded here, at least.
Do they have any?
Go ahead, Brother Al.
Yeah. Do they have any sculptures like the Olmecs of the so-called Indians and Native Americans in the Americas? Have they ever found one?
No, not to my knowledge. But remember, when the Europeans came here first, and a couple of us are going into this now. This is the PSYOP thing, where they've told people of color that they're not from here, it's only Native Americans, and the Native American pictures you're seeing today are highly mixed with Europeans. If they have any Native American blood, they were the ones that, we call them the $5 Indians, the ones who paid $5 so they could get all the perks of being Native Americans, and then they could claim to be Native Americans to get, tax rebates and
put on the dog
roll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the Native Americans that they accounted to seeing, they said, look just like the ones from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So who were they? So how did you distinguish? And personally, I don't think that all those Africans were taken over on their ships. I don't think they had that kind of. I don't think they would have the capability to do that. I think most of the people of color they had were already here.
Exactly.
And they do not want you to know that, and that's why when you try to go and get a Native American test right now, a genetic test, to try to get a card so that you can get some of the perks of your ancestors, they have it. They covertly have taken over that and have clinical studies that make sure that when you show up, your bloodline shows up, that they automatically say you are not of Native American descent.
Right.
But I know a whole lot of European type people who have cards, and they don't look nothing like a Native American to any degree.
Mm-hmm.
And we know visually, if you hold more than 40% of a particular gene pool, you are going to have visuals of looking like those people. If I'm looking at a total European with a straight nose, linear features, very thin lips, very straight hair. Well, Native Americans had straight hair because they were Asiatic black looking people. But if you have blue eyes, how do you have enough blood of a Native American to be able to get a card, to identify you, whatever it is, to be a Native American and get those perks? But this is what I'm saying. They've changed all history, and I have a brother who they changed the timeline, and slavery didn't even happen. They just convinced us in history books it did. That's interesting.
Wow.
That blew my mind. It was a moment. And that the only account we have of slavery is just in books, that it never really happened, and the only reason that we buy into it is because they changed history and they hijacked the timeline.
Exactly.
Well, that information is also suppressed to the fact that.
I'm sorry, Brother L. Like I was going to say, God, it's the continuation of the continuation of the $5 Indian, like you said.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fact. We know that when they had to distinguish the Native Americans to give them land and the reservations, all the whites have found out what the perks were for being Native Americans. So all they did is go to the person the person taking down the documentation, paid them $5. That's all it cost.
Right, the BIA, right, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, BIA, right.
Mhm.
That's what they went through, was the BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, in which they had put forth the Dawes roll, and they was able to say, okay, yeah, my last name William. Oh, there it is, it's right there on the Dawes roll.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? And then you wonder why you got Little Feather now with blonde hair, blue eyes, talking about she's head chief, of a tribe up in the Iroquois Nation. I mean, I think that's crazy to me, and I think it's really disgusting. I think it's tragic. And I see it everywhere.
Yeah, now when I go to powwows, I see us. At the powwows, it's us.
That's who Native American.
Right, but you're right. But when I'm seeing on TV, or when I'm seeing those in which that they're promoting, is always the blue-eyed ones, in which that always ends up on TV. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And they do it. They hijack genetically, they hijack everyone.
Right.
And that changes people's perspectives, too, because if they keep promoting that, then when you, as a person who's brown, say you're Native American, you get a side eye. You know, people like, really? You know, what, you Indian in your family? You know, you get a side eye, like you're stating is not fact, but visually you look 90% of what they look like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would question the clinical status of what they're when people are getting authenticating whether they're getting their test validated or not if they're Native American. I personally think it's been overtaken, and it's a false positive or a false negative.
Indeed. Well, like you said earlier, I mean, when we take our ancestry tests, I mean, they take us straight to Africa. You know, but yet the Africans are saying no. Yeah. Right, but the Africans are saying no. Y'all from over here. Oh, okay, well, how is that? When Louis Henry Gates, right? When Louis Henry Gates just told me I came from Africa. You know,
Can I explain my lesson?
And I'm not saying that I'm not from Africa. I'm just saying that maybe it could have been further back than just 400 years ago. It could be 1,000, 5,000, 100,000, 2 million years ago. Of course, the markers, the gene markers, still show some African.
Yeah, but who's to say that the African DNA, because they're going to go across your mitochondria from your mother's side, because the matriarchal side carries that extra DNA. So they usually go along her line. So when they carry her line, what happens is that that's why our girlfriend was like, well, what if we do it at Black colleges? It doesn't matter. If they get all their criteria for the test from Europe, which all of them come from, especially in the Norwegian area, like Switzerland and Sweden, for their standards, then it's all already corrupted. So it doesn't matter that it says Africa. It's probably a lie. And it's probably saying that anytime a Native American bloodline from this particular, mitochondria shows up, they'll say it's African, and it's maybe totally Native American from the Americas.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't, if you're sleeping in the bed with the devil, he's going to do some devilish things. So we can't trust him at any level.
True.
I don't trust any information I get from anybody who's cut off the nose of African statues every time they come in. I'm not trusting them because they've already whitewashed everything. What makes me think they're gonna not do it with information regarding me and mine? I don't trust it unless I can test it myself and go to my people and find out and verify it myself.
I agree.
And it goes back to Buddha. Buddha looking very reminiscent of a black man with very curly or coarse hair, curly hair. Buddha being a big, fat black man who was living in Asia. You go back to the Japanese that look like pure black people, beautiful melanated black people. I mean, we go all over the planet. You got Olmec heads. You got accounts of people having conversations and interactions with their melanated galactic families. But then when the European comes, he collects all this data, takes everything for himself, throws out everything and burns any information regarding us, and then starts over from scratch and and just inserts himself in the culture of the galactic family, because I know for a fact that there is no white person who's non-melanated who can leave this atmosphere without their brains falling apart, because that belt, those gamma rays, even when your pineal gland is pretty strong and healthy, anybody going out who doesn't have melanin will not survive that journey outside, especially with the gamma rays. So you cannot go into the planet without melanin.
Exactly. And speaking of that, I wanted to ask you about the sister that they found on the moon. I know you've probably seen that documentation. What do you think about that?
Yes, I think she's me. No, I'm joking. That cosmonaut, that sister's a cosmonaut. She is, I personally believe she is from a clan of female cosmonauts that fly very often around. Some of them may be associated with the Andromedans, but I believe she's from a colony on Mars. She also had another brown sister.
And she has 6 fingers. And she has 6 fingers, so she has shiny,
Beautiful braided, dreaded hair. She was shaped just like us, in a color. Features just like I tell people when white people try to get funny. I was like, she looks just like me. So what are you going to say? You consider me a black person, don't you? So
exactly.
What do you say? Yeah. So what would you say any different about her? And also, I heard, this is on the sidebar, and they will never give this information out. She was accompanied with another body that was a really dark, beautiful brown sister that they will never tell you was with her. and she was there, and they had her body.
Right.
The only one they showed this one because she looked more Indian type of look, to them, more copper.
Exactly.
But the other one was more melanated. They don't want to show you her.
Right, and they even are lighting her up now. From certain pictures I've seen, I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous.
Well, they whitewash this thing. We shouldn't be surprised. We should expect it at this point. I expect if they do anything less than that, I'm shocked. and remember, listen, I keep it real with my people that are white, black. They respect that because really it shouldn't be that serious. You tell me that there's white supremacy even when it comes to the UFO community, and I didn't realize it was that bad until I went into it. And you should hear some of what they say is like, what you're doing involved in this. They don't want you. They don't want you uneducated monks. But realize that monkeys, they're the ones mixed with the DNA of apes, and we are not.
Exactly.
That's why we have less hair in our body.
Right.
It's like the flip mode of information, and they're really confused. When I talk to a lot of my white contactees and abductees, they talk about coming in contact, like one grandmother. I'll tell you one story which I think blew my mind last week. It was a grandmother, really cool white grandmother. She's her grandson is in college. No, he was in high school at the time, I'm sorry. And he went to the beach. I think this is somewhere in Cali near those mountains. Another thing, there's some caves over in Cali. I forgot the location. Mount Shasta, is that it? Maybe over there. He was on the beach. He's looking out, and he sees this black being walking through the water. Now, mind you, he's on the beach. The being is walking all the way deep into the, in the ocean. Waves are going past this being. It's not phasing them. He said he looked like he was 8 feet, but we know he had to be at least 16 feet to be that far out. She said her grandson has not been able to sleep. He's never been right. He doesn't want to talk about it. He talked about it with her, and she believes him. She said, I believe him. She was like, it changed his whole sense of self. He doesn't think the same way. He feels differently. He said, yeah, he's living his life now, but he feels like this presence he saw, let's keep it real, this black man that was almost 16 feet walking in the middle of the ocean that he saw, he witnessed, it freaked him out. And that is what white people feel when they see anything that has to do with us in a cosmic way. It freaks them out. It scares the holy hell out of them.
Yeah.
And it scares them because they've been mistreating. Yeah, they mistreated a lot of black people on the planet for so long, and they don't want any repercussions for that.
True. Well, I mean, if you have individuals, like Norman, Bertrand, I would think that, I don't know how more serious you can get than that, than a NASA scientist.
Yeah. Oh, my God. It was real. You saw how disgusted he said it. You saw his face, right, when he said it. He looked disgusted. That's a real reaction. He said, no, black. He was disgusted when he said it. And it wasn't a feeling like,
you said
that's
that
cool.
He was dark complected. You said he was dark skinned. He was dark complected. No, I said black.
No, Carrie Cassidy. You already know how I feel about Carrie Cassidy. I can't go in on her anymore. She, our ancestors have come at her recently. I won't say anymore, and she's starting to want to speak out more. But like I said, if you're not telling us the truth and you hearing it, then you just is basically a liar to me. That's how I feel. Because if this is the ET community, we're supposed to be whistleblowing in all matters. Why would you hold that back? Why that information back? You don't talk about green ETs, octopus faces, ETs, frog-looking people, people mixed with all kinds of other DNA, but that freaks you out the most?
Right. Well, you know what I found interesting is the fact that when I studied David Icke's information, and I've been studying it since he came out, really. And when he went to Credo Moutoir, and he studied under the Credo Moutoir, and then writes his book, The Biggest Secrets, and say that, that so-called white people came from Mars, I damn near laughed out the damn chair when I read that.
God.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
That's
hold on. Let me go to the Zulu Bone Oracle book where Credo Moutoir wrote the introduction, and he states specifically that the word Amazulu, which is the name of the African tribe in South Africa, means sky people, and that his people came from the sky, came from the red planet prior to coming to the blue planet, which is the Earth. On the red planet, which is Mars, they say that it was a catastrophe in which that wiped off the surface. And obviously he's talking about the destruction of Maldek and Malona, you know, which happened to be in the asteroid belt, you know, as he in history. And he said that the men impregnated the women, and they formed their Merkabas, M-E-R again, the Merkabas, and journeyed to the Earth interdimensionally. Now, he said they was impregnated with the seed already from the men. Now, this sounds just like the damn Superman story. You know?
Oh, yeah, the hijack. Another bit of information hijacked again, once again.
Right. And I'm like, this sounded... Now I'm like, hold on. Either Quito Mutua, he said that this is an oral tradition amongst the Amazulu people for hundreds and thousands of years. And here it is, the comic book coming with Superman have to flee the planet in a ship, you know, and come to planet Earth because this planet got destroyed. That's the same story, the same scenario, you know, in which that Queen Mutua talked about how the Amazulu people, which is a dark-skinned, brown-skinned people in South Africa, and how they get to the planet Earth.
Exactly. And that's a fact. And they hijacked the information and they made it into something that seems so fantabulous that people think it's like some sort of fantasy or some sort of sci-fi, and it's really fast. And if you read the book, now this is a book everybody should, I love these twins. They're called, Shirlene Wallace wrote a book called From the Motherland to the Mothership. Oh, my God, you want to talk about it. She talks about the colony on Mars, a whole bunch of black people on Mars. You know that the most black people on Mars. I mean, this is what we're talking about. And we're talking about tall. We have so many different types of beings that are tall, thin, and very dark. But then you also have the cosmonauts who look very much like me, and many of them look very reminiscent of me, and they're like copper-looking women that tend to go out and travel almost like scouting. They're scouters. They go out and go to new places to see what it's like, to see what's going on. So, but we don't talk about, and we don't talk about the female melanated ETs because, God forbid, we even get in that conversation and blow people away.
Well, I mean, let's go there because, I mean, that's the reason why I brought up the Sister on the Moon. And we've seen how large that ship is. That ship is larger than many of the buildings, actually all the buildings in Manhattan, but just as long as the, along the Hudson River, the whole daggone, probably almost the whole of the Manhattan down, I guess the ocean side or riverside view of Manhattan. Yeah. That shit was gigantic. So I'm like, I know damn well that they found more than just like you said, just
absolutely.
So, I know they said one sister had her head cut off. She was decapitated. And then, like you said, they spoke of another sister who was more dark-skinned. They don't talk about her. And then, of course, the one in which that they show us, in which that they took the apparatus off of, which that was attached to her third eye because that's what she utilized to guide the ship.
And that's how we run our ship. It's through our third eye. And if you ever watch, a great movie for anyone to watch is SoundCloud Atlas. Watch when Halle Berry comes to the planet. What does she have? She has one of those apparatuses on her third eye. They always put the truth out. SoundCloud Atlas.com. Who hasn't ever seen it? I was waiting for the longest time for it to come out. Nobody even knew about it. It is a gem plus a gem plus a gem. Gotta watch it. A lot of information in there, and they tell you who we are.
Tell them again.
Cloud Atlas.
Okay.
Cloud Atlas. Great movie. It's so hard. It was weird because when it came out, nobody really went to go see it. I was waiting for it to come out, and when it came out, I stayed out for a second, and then I waited for it to come on video. And I swear to God, they kept it out of the public for the longest time. And it was wild because I was like, maybe they know. Because I was waiting for it. Because that was the movie I was waiting for. I don't see a lot of movies. I just go to see ones that I relate to. I'm a Trekkie type of chick. So sci-fi or something like that. I stay out of, the movie theaters. I don't really want the mind control or the subliminal messages either, but I'll stomach it a little bit for a show, like something I could get some gems for, like Avatar or Cloud Atlas or something like that. But we have a bunch of cosmonauts, female cosmonauts, and the reason why they pick particular females to do long scouting missions is because they're made of a lot of water and they store it better, and they're able to travel and permeate through different dimensions a little easier than a male, based on their physiology.
Right. The melanin, the pineal gland is more so activated within the woman than the male species. Right. Yes. Exactly.
And that's why you'll see the women traveling amongst each other, and a lot of what you'll notice is I believe that a couple of those cosmonauts have seeded. You'll see them too because they're reminiscent of each other. Like a lot of the cosmonaut seeds here, they are a copper-looking woman, very reminiscent of the Egyptian women. And there's something to that. Their skin almost looks like a brown gold, like a darkish brown. Like even with the brown, there's like a gold underneath. That's a certain genealogy. There's certain bloodline too.
Right.
They travel. Also, there's another group of females that turn into birds. I believe they're able to transform themselves from birds. You hear about them in Africa, and they call them witches. They're able to shapeshift into what we consider big black birds. And a lot murdered a lot of times that they're found out. And they were saying it's not true. It's been confirmed. A lot of people talk about their grandmothers or those were known to be those birds, and it was a secret in the family, and they would be able to fly across the sea where there would be food or vegetation somewhere, so they would tell their tribe to be able to migrate to a better place that was more plush and resource. And again, on the Egyptian walls, we see all these pictures and depictions of all these animal heads on people, and really because they were all those genealogy types that were existing here. So the reptoid, the hawk-looking people, the frog people, all kinds of different, lion, cat people. We've got those entities here. I have a picture of some homeboys. It's so crazy though. Kids contacting me. He was scared, and he's from LA. And that's what I'm saying. This is real information happening in the hood. This ain't Becky in the cornfield. This is a dude. They were hanging out. Hanging out, homies hanging out.
In the field of dreams. Right. This ain't Becky in the field of dreams.
Yeah. They were homies hanging out. They were at one of their homies' apartment complexes, and they were on the third or fourth floor. No, it was the third or fourth floor. And he said, yo, I don't know what this is in the picture. A lot of times I get different pictures, and some of them I try to send, because I'm not a verifier. I can look and see if I think it looks crazy, and then I'll send it to my people, my other people who are actually obsessed with, verifying, going through the clinical process of trying to see if it's, if it's real, if it's mostly real or not. But he sent me a picture, and him and his dude, they got their, and this is how as real as it gets, they're gangbangers, so they got their crip, hand signals up, and in the background, in the window, it's scary as all hell. You see a cat-looking being through the curtain. It's freaky, and it's nothing that would be set up. It's not like purposely, like Photoshop. It would be crazy if it was Photoshop, but it was peeking through the curtain, and it looked like a cat being. It's freaky. It actually scared. It actually gave me chills on my body. So I was like, wait a second. He said, yo, we seen a picture. They were smoking weed, too, so they thought they were hallucinating. They have all things it's a picture. So now they're sending it to me, and I should have said to my people, listen, I don't know what it was, but it looked like one of those cat beings, and it wasn't a balcony. It was on the third or fourth floor, so this being was up outside the window, peering in, and it was a being outside of a window on the third or fourth floor, looking in the window. It wasn't in the house. It was looking inside the window, peering through the curtain. You could see its face through the curtain. It was frightening. And that's one of the cats you have to do. Huh? Hello? Okay.
That's interesting because as a child, I always felt like, someone was looking or watching, like that song that Michael Jackson helped produce, You know, I always feel like somebody's watching me. You know what I'm saying?
But it's true. I mean, but remember, if we understand that we're living in a hologram, sort of,
right,
and
right,
we're really, if we get it, we're really not living in the real reality. We're living almost like in a dream state. And
sure.
Everything outside of us that's peering and looking and visually seeing us is maybe more tangibly real than we are. We're experiencing something that's not.
And really, they
like
told us this in kindergarten when they told us the song about row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, merrily, merrily. Life is but a dream.
Life is but a dream. Yes. And there you go. And another good movie to prove this is Inception. Go watch the movie Inception. See, I got all these buzz movies that'll.
Yes, Inception, exactly. Yes.
Yo, Inception goes into that different levels of awakening, and you got to blow bombs to wake up to the next level. You got to blow up a big boom, and then you get to the next level, but it's another dream. So, it's that concept that we're interlayered in a hologram, an interactive hologram. And that's why co-creating is what happens. That synchronicity that we all experience, whenever you have more synchronicity, it's because you're waking up and you're seeing aspects of what you're thinking manifesting to you. What else does that but a hologram?
Right, and it makes sense because, I mean, how else, if this was an illusion or a hologram, then I would not be able to clone because your body's made of 76 trillion cells. If I take one cell, I can clone a whole nother you in existence because that one cell contains the exact information, long-term memory, short-term memory, RNA, DNA, and I can clone a whole nother you in existence. You know, that wouldn't be possible if your whole body template wasn't a hologram. And a hologram, in order to survive, needs light. And that's the first thing scientists tell you, you need to go and get some sun. You know, otherwise you'll suffer from SAD or seasonal afflicted disorder. You know, so
exactly.
This is true. You know, this is true. Yeah. And us being the oldest hologram on the planet, you know, we need at least 1 to 3 hours of light a day. So light a day as compared to our people who's the most recent, no more than 15 to 20 minutes. Otherwise, he'll catch carcinoma and melanoma.
There you go. And this is another thing that we have to realize. The reason why buildings and stuff, you know, people think it's funny when I say this, but these are caves we're living in. We didn't have to live in this. We're living in caves. All these protected buildings and stuff like that, these are to enclose an entity that should not be outside, does not have, that's why they have fur on them. It's to protect them from the sun. They're not natural to the environment. And we have to get sun. To be conscious, we get fed from the sun. We get information galactically from the sun. There's a lot of things. And the fact that we wear a lot of clothing, now I get a lot of, you know, listen, clothing is what we do here. But wearing too much clothing on our body is the largest, our skin is the largest organ we have. Our skin, our sun used to touch every aspect of our skin.
It's our second lung. Right, it's our second lung. It breathes. I mean, it has pores. So you can breathe through your skin.
Yes, and the reason why a lot of us get sick, people of color, with osteoporosis and other things, is because we're not getting enough sun. We're not getting enough exposure to sun. And putting all these creams with parabens and chemicals or sealers, that blocks any sort of absorption from any vitamin D or any energetic absorption we get from the sun. So we got to be mindful of that. Unless it's organic, unless it's edible, we shouldn't put it on our skin. If you can't eat something, it shouldn't go on your body. If I can't put it on my little one. Yeah, I don't put anything on their body that I can't put in my mouth and not get sick.
Right.
Hair, body, anywhere. And they make it so that others live. We should not mimic a creature that looks nothing like us. They're very different than us. And it doesn't make them wrong or less. It's just they're different. And we cannot mimic something like that.
Right.
Or they have it. You know?
I hope everybody's listening to this. Because this is nothing but the truth.
Well, you know, we were supposed to, we're very, you know, we're supposed to pick from the vine. We're supposed to be eating fruits, raw things, not cooked. The only reason things started to cook is because they were living in colder regions where they did not have heat source and they could not, they had, you know, they killed something or they didn't have vegetation. So they had to kill something, had to outsource and cook it. They had to do that. That's why people cook. We're doing those things and we don't have to anymore. You can buy vegetables and fruit and eat it purely. You can eat a banana, right? Well, a lot of bananas are genetically modified. I wouldn't suggest that, but you can eat a mango. You can eat a pineapple. You can eat that straight ahead. You can eat a nice fresh salad. You don't have to burn anything to cook it. You know, for the Christians, I got a whole thing on Jesus being a raw vegan. Blow their minds.
Right.
Yeah. We're in order for us to wake up and open certain information that is inside of us, we don't have to go to leaders anymore. Every bit of information you need to go to the next level is all within you, and it's accessible. It's just to what degree you cleanse yourself or clear yourself to get that information. You know, you have to be of the vibration to get that particular information. You have to be. You know, and I tell people all the time, I'm 43 now, but when I could not have certain information, I wasn't ready and prepared for it. A lot of the things I'm seeing on the esoteric level, things I'm seeing visually, would have flipped me out in my 20s. I'm being honest. But the 20-year-olds now are starseeds, so they can handle it. Me at 20, seeing things popping in the middle of the room, big beams of light, that would have flipped me out. I wasn't prepared to get certain information. I am now. So you're seeing certain people waking up at the time they need to, and you don't. And that's another thing. We can't force a horse to go drink, even if we know he's thirsty. He has to want to do that himself.
Right.
Because giving people too much information too quickly could really damage them if they're not ready.
That's true. Right.
Because anybody listening to this show was prepared subconsciously, spiritually, to hear this.
That's true.
And
that's
if they aren't, maybe somebody they're sharing it with needed that information.
Right. That's true. All right. Well, let's get back to the PSYOPs program.
Yeah,
also, I want to get back to that because we spoke about the Mandela effect. We spoke about the black extraterrestrials. So let's get to that PSYOPs.
Okay. Well, they're covertly working at taking over every aspect of anything, any bit of information that would be helpful, or we have a lot of subliminal things going on with televisions, with electronics. The government is being taken over by entities that are not human. And that is verifiable, and some of them don't even act human anymore.
That's true. Right.
We have the ETs that have, and it's not the reptilians. A lot of people have put a lot of blame, and this is where I'll put some blame on David Icke for doing this, for blanketing a whole bunch of reptoids as taking over government facilities. And I personally think we have insectilians, an insect-type race that is on the top tiers, really running the governmental, the functioning of the government. I think there's tiers of Dracons below it, another type of reptilian, but I don't think on the top tiers. This is my opinion. I think it's a bunch of insectoid type of creatures. That's why they colonize. That's why they got a queen. They do all these bug type things. They don't have any emotional connection to anything. They're very android-like, very robotic. I believe these entities are on the top tiers. And what they do, these type of insectilians, they're scientists. And they're able to mess with your electronics. They've mastered low elf waves, and especially in the hood. And I talk to people in the hood. I tell you, all my wonderful melanated people, do not have your cell phones or your laptops or your iPads or your iPhones next to you when you sleep, because they put in this low elf wave frequency, and it goes into your body, because remember, we're 90%, most of our body, 70% of our body is liquid water, which is, remember, we know water can be transferred to a different frequency. And they insert certain information into you, lower vibrational information, and kind of hijack your consciousness. And it messes with you radiation-wise, because it messes with your neurons. It messes with your bodily system. A lot of people have a lot of issues based on that, and men have to stop wearing cell phones on their waist because it messes with their testicular area and stuff like that. And we see a lot of men showing signs of issues with that because they're wearing the cell phones low on them in that region. That's one way that we're getting it.
Right, because they are experiencing impotency, prostate problems, all types of illnesses,
yes.
right?
Yes, because what they did with that is that it's not just the cell phones. A lot of the foods you're eating have metals in them, and all the barium and the aluminum that they're spraying with the chemtrails is going into your system. So now you have all this metal that's magnetic, because metal is propelled by frequency. And then you take an electrical device and put that next to people who have a whole bunch of metal in them, and it will mess with you physiologically and mentally. So, that's just a little sidebar I had to throw in there. Because I think a lot of people don't even realize that, just the little things that they're doing. And we have a lot of our organizations have been taken over by others. And I don't want to drop too many names, even though I know, because it's a very very slippery slope as far as what I could say in that arena. All I would say is a lot of these organizations that are top-notch, what we consider to be black organizations, have been covertly overtaken by something or someone else. And I'm talking about every nation, every part of our organizations. I'm talking about the Nation of Islam. I'm talking about the Hebrew Israelites. I'm talking about we got entities that have been inserted in those organizations to covertly take over and change the movement of things and change how we interact amongst each other, and also to get intel from what any of us are doing in the conscious circuit. And I always tell people, be very mindly what you're deciding to do and who you decide to kiki with, because I don't care if they smile. All information that you plan to do in the betterment of yourself or your people should be kept to yourself, unless you know that you should share that with specific people. And your circle should be tight. Your cipher should be very tight, and it should be people that you've known. And like I said, they're cloning people, and we see them in the celebrity zone. They're cloning people that can replace somebody in less than 6 months. You got actors like Dave Chappelle, which I personally think he's been cloned and replaced. You've got other ones that I know have been cloned and replaced. And again, they are cloning people at the rate like we got chickens laying eggs. I mean, they perfected it. Remember when they were talking about cloning years ago with the sheep? What was this, like an 80?
Right, with the sheep.
Now, listen, whenever they tell you that means that they're 60 years ahead of whatever they're disclosing to you. They're just giving you a little bit of information of something they've already mastered. Now, let's take it to 2016. They are cloning people, Dr. Dre. They are cloning people. And also when someone is cloned, I know this seems crazy to people, but this is a fact. They're doing this. And it's verified. I can't verify it to you personally, but I know it's verifiable. They can clone something or an organism, a full-blown adult in 60 days. In less than 6 months. And what you'll notice with certain people who are cloned, they look beefed up. They look swollen. That's how you know they've been taken. I know it seems crazy, but if you know that ETs exist and they have technology that supersedes anything that you can conceive and believe, you know that's a possibility and a plausibility. And anytime they want an organization to go in the direction that they want it to go to, and they don't like to see that there may be some uprising, they will infiltrate and eliminate the entity that they feel has the most power, and they will replace them. Back in the days, they would just kill them and assassinate them. They don't do that anymore. All they have to do is clone them and replace them, and nobody would really know except the loved ones. And the loved ones probably would notice, but maybe not state anything, just thinking, because this is not something that's rational. It's not rational technology. It's something we know about.
Right, and this shouldn't be strange to our audience, because Brother Bobby Hemmett spoke about this back in the mid-'90s. I was in classes with Brother Bobby Hemmett as he was talking about, as he was one of the first to bring that information out. In the early 90s, there was books written by Val Valerian, his Matrix 1, in particular his Matrix 2 book, in which he spoke about President Jimmy Carter, how he was cloned, and he shows, the robots and robotoids and the androids and the different clones and all of this in part 2.
And look when he's talking about this years ago, and this is a full business right now. They have clones that they're selling to the sheiks They got clones of what is her name? What's the little? I forget that singer's name. Not oh God, little blonde singer. This tells you I'm not really in the world anymore.
Justin Bieber.
No, the little Britney Spears. They got clones of Britney Spears being bought by.
She cracks up on TV. Yeah, definitely.
She is. She's under mind control. Yeah.
Right. Serious.
Yeah, she's not cloned. She's just mind control. But they make clones of her.
Right.
And you know how deep the clones is because one of Madonna's dancers had shared with me a while ago, how when Madonna does concerts and she stays at any place other than where she lives, she has what we call a cleanser or cleaner. When she walks or touches a glass, she has somebody right behind her who wipes her print or her DNA off the cup or throw it out. She does not let her body or sweat or any part of her DNA touch anything without it being cleaned right behind her. Why do you think she's doing that? She doesn't want any bit of her DNA because she knows they'll clone her. They don't need much to clone you.
Right.
There's a little bit of your DNA. That's how perfect this technology is.
There, a speck of blood, right, spittle.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just a little bit.
Right.
And like I said, they've infiltrated almost every organization that you could possibly think of, to the point where you would think even certain people that you would never think of infiltrated. And it's just what it is. People have to be very mindful of who they kiki with. Just if you in that world that you're trying to, move and shut and trying to do things, then keep your cipher closed and just know your people. Like if I talk to you today, you'd be like, hey, da 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 da, and you talk to me a certain name, then tomorrow it's like, hey, I'm sorry, Fleurbrun. Your tone all changes.
Right.
That chipped tooth that you had for 20 years is gone. That mole that used to be on your left face is not, is not there anymore. I'd question the validity of who I'm seeing in front of me. That's what they do. And when they clone you, the clones don't come out perfect. They come out different.
Right. That's right.
Some of us fall off a bike when we're 6, and we still have a scar on our right foot from all our whole life. So you see a clone, that clone doesn't have that scar anymore. That's how you know it's a clone.
Exactly.
Okay? Somebody's been smoking weed for 20 years, their lips are a little darker, like Dave Chappelle. All of a sudden they start coming out, their lips look okay, kind of reddish and pinkish. What happened? Lip surgery, you know what I'm saying? Little things like that. We got to be mindful because that's the world we're living in. We're living in a world that's becoming very much robotic, and it's based on the fact that they're starting to replace humans because those others that they had working for them cannot live on the surface of the planet. That magnetic field is coming in, and I don't care how much chemtrails they're doing, everybody could feel it. White people are not reproducing at the rate that they used to, and also, as we know, a lot of prophets have predicted that, that's why I think they're letting a floodgate of Muslims going into Europe is to melanate some of those Europeans.
Right.
There's a lot of rape going on, and that's odd.
Right. My biology teacher told me, and matter of fact, told my wife and me in college that his name is Dr. Knuckles. He's passed on now, but he said Europeans, white, so-called white people, will not be here too much longer after 2025.
Yeah, they'll be gone. Unless they're underground. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they won't be able to exist. And like I said, there's a couple weird, unsavory people on YouTube that are others. And like I said, they've been traveling. I think some of these people have traveled from the future that are Europeans. They all underground. That's why they're creating these cities. They cannot live on the surface of the planet. That's why we shouldn't be concerned. But remember, we got a whole bunch of unsavory, sick black people who've been abused and victimized, and they're not well. And you got to be concerned about those individuals living on the surface of the planet within the realm of tyranny. So that's what we have to be concerned. Okay? Because we'll say, oh, kumbaya, the white people are gone. But remember, this organization with what we have so far, you take everything apart, anarchy, and then you replace that with people that have been, socially depreciated. And there will be it's going to be interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So,
my wife and dad say all the time, we don't need intervention. He always said we don't need divine intervention.
We'll be fine. No, many of the star seeds are already have domes. This is from my contacting experience. They already have cities above certain places. that you can't see that are right above us. And those places are for people who vibrate at a certain frequency, and you'll be fine.
Right.
If you're vibrating at a high frequency, you'll permeate.
Right. That's what they've been talking about, like in China, floating cities just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, and
those cities are also cities that come up every 7 years. Yeah. Right. They're all also the city above. What is it? Is it Nigeria? No, maybe it's, I forgot where it was. Another city. It's like a dome city. Some town in Africa, and it's right above, and they can see it. It's beautiful, but it's got like a dome, almost like a permeable kind of a bubble around it. That's where we're going. Those who are contactees and remember, you know, your parents are watching over you. We were here to be cultivated, and a lot of us are blooming. Okay, so. You know, you don't pick a flower before it's bloomed. You know, a lot of us are blooming to the point where we're cultivated enough to be able to go on to the next level. And that's what we're here for. That's all it is.
Right.
If you have a soul, everlasting.
Right.
Not everybody has a soul, though, but if you got a soul, you good.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got about 15 more minutes before we close out. You have any closing remarks that you want, or anything that any other topic that you want to get into? Anything in which that you want to have the audience to look out for?
I just want people to be mindful and start looking up in the sky. You know, start being mindful of their energy levels. Start to reflect on self and take care of self. You know, and be open. I know many people, this might seem very phantasmic, but, you know, again, I'm a regular person. I'm a mother. So, you know, I'm in this life. But remember, this is a very practical way of life. And don't let it deter you from finding out who and what you are and really seizing that moment. And I just wish everybody well, you know. That's it.
All right. Brother L, you have any closing remarks?
Yes, I enjoyed the show as usual. Glad to have you on the show, sister. Hope to have you back here soon.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime. I like chatting with you gentlemen. It's fun.
Right. Well,
it's great information.
I know my wife got some closing remarks.
Yes, we definitely enjoyed the show. Thank you so much, Goddess, for gracing the space. I just want to do a couple of announcements. Yes, we really, really enjoyed it. I don't know if you've seen the flyer, but I thought it was perfect. You had on your Mardi Gras mask, your angelic mask. It was so cute.
Thank you.
I just loved the laughter, too. Every time you laughed, I did, too. I was like, I know that's right. We don't have nothing to worry about because we resonated at the right vibrations, and we definitely have souls.
Yeah.
I just want to take this time out real quick to, if you have questions, callers, if y'all have questions, please just press 1, and then we'll bring you in. But real quick, we do have our 16th annual United Washita Conference. If you would like to reserve the space, go to the calendar region on Dr. Alim El-Bey.com. Also, too, Brother Walter Williams had got in contact with us, and he is going to be on the next Wednesday show. So, Dr. Walter Williams. He has a new book coming out, so you definitely don't want to miss that. And then the week following that, we have Brother Tahaka, and he's going to be on. So I just wanted to give y'all like a breakdown of what's going to be going on in the coming Wednesdays. We do have a mailing list. So when you go to the website, scroll down to the bottom and get on the mailing list. And I see we do have a question from area code 978. I'm unmuting your phone, 978. Please answer your question.
Hi. How you doing? This is Petinin.
Hello.
Peace. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I kind of got sucked into it. I would have pressed 1 earlier, too. I was just taking the ride with you guys, like, you know.
Cool.
But, I mean, I had a bunch of questions, really. I mean, I'm just really into the meditation aspect, and I was even thinking, like, to have certain abilities, like we heard, like you've spoken about a brother that was projecting himself in 2 places at the same time, a brother that had done that. And I was just thinking, like, is it really just, you know, within the body itself? Like, we don't need amulets or, like, you know, like gems or
You don't.
I mean,
you don't.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, like, you got brothers, like, you know, they do the ceremonies and everything, like, even like Panic, he's doing ceremonies and stuff. And even I just started getting into the ceremony aspect. But even before this, I was having, like, clear sentience and clear, you know, certain moments of certain stuff. Like, I found a stack full of $500 on the railroad tracks. So I lost it. And I pretty much, like, walked, you know, maybe about an hour and a half. But I found the money. You know how long train tracks are? Train tracks, you know? There's, like, rows of train tracks. You know what I mean? So
That's you creating that. You have the capability in you. Your abilities are always there. They're just asleep. So everyone has their own set of abilities. Clairvoyance, clairsential, all forms of telepathy. That's all part of our innate abilities that we have and within us that are asleep. So, yes, and you need nothing. We use gems because we need tools now because we forgot who we were. Once you start remembering and letting those abilities show up without question and without judgment, they'll start to manifest a little quicker and better, and especially at this time.
Yeah, I definitely had heard Brother Alim talked about burning incense and people using that for having visions and stuff like that. But I know we can have the visions just pretty much taking Reiki and pranayama to the next level. And I was going to have a question about what's the more stronger forms of meditation, because, you know, you have MELANINATED, this brother, I've watched some of his videos, and he's doing a lot of, like, vocal meditation, like out loud, you know, the ohms. And there was another brother who came on the show before who was talking about the Orisha's vocal kind of, like, you know, pranic sound meditation. I don't know. I feel like they all implement them all, but at any moment they could set off something.
I think all forms of meditation is whatever resonates with you is what you do. It's one form of meditation. Remember that I love the vocal because it's also that toning is also activating codons to open. It's almost like breaking open codons. It also is helping your kundalini rise, open up certain chakras or heal certain. Toning is wonderful. So I think whatever resonates with you, because remember, we're all from a different star family. So what may resonate with you and do well for you may not do that much for me. So whatever feels good, that's what you do.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel it, too. I feel it, like, you know, even as far as us as a people, how vocal we are, like, we're constantly, as a people, singing. People who don't sing are singing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People who don't even be singing are singing, you know, hear them, and they'll be singing well, you know, to even vibrate your insides like that. That comes from having all the capacities of the first being, capacities of the God body and stuff. So it just feels different. I mean, I feel like that's what's about to be, too. It's about to be like a kind of a sound revolution. Certain people are just sucked into the wrong sounds. I feel like those are the clones, you know, certain people, right?
That's deep.
Because how could you hear certain stuff and be okay with it, you know?
Absolutely. You sound like you're well on your way.
I know, I'm trying, you know? I just want, like, I want the full on. I want the full on the abilities now. I feel like I heard a brother come on talking on the show before, and he was like, you know, we need to do something. Like we had a brother, he was like, you know, he was getting kind of, you know, worked up about it, you know, and he was like, we have to do something right now. And it sounded like almost he's talking like physical. We're doing stuff like, again, manifesting ourselves in 2 locations at one time.
Yeah.
You know, his brother's talking about, his brother's talking about they're walking around in the rain, and they'll walk like you know, whatever, a couple blocks and get to the location and be dry, no umbrella. Yeah. You know? Very
good. Your abilities right now will start to manifest because we're at the end of a cycle of another entity, and we're in the home court advantage, going into the home court advantage of the first cycle, which is the people who are melanated because our ancestors have returned. So what's happening with that, you'll be gifted an opening up of your latent abilities. And everybody's abilities manifest differently. Some people's abilities will, with one ability, major ability, you'll have several coming with that. So, you know, whatever shows up for you, it's usually what I've noticed with people's abilities, whatever their talent or whatever they like to do, it has to do with their ability. So if you're a person who likes to listen to people, you tend to be a little more psychic. If you're a person who likes to just, you're always worried about what other people are doing, or if they're sick, you're very nurturing. Those where you get a lot of your healers. people who can touch people and heal people. But you should start getting a lot of your abilities telepathically. You should be able to, when someone's thinking about you to call you, you should automatically get that in your head. A lot of people are getting that now, and you'll know when someone's about to call you. Some of the people have more abilities. One of mine is, one of my abilities is, if someone that I know or have loved is doing something, I can smell whatever they're doing, like if they're smoking a cigarette or if they're putting on lotion, I can smell it. It busts them out.
And that was happening to me. Yeah, that's happening to me. I was looking at people in their pictures and they'd have something, and I could almost taste what I'm looking at in the picture.
Yeah.
I was trying to be like, how is that possible? I was just like,
It's your ability. It's not how it's possible. It is you. That's who you are. You just forgot. You just remember it. It's always been a part of it. Yeah. Just keep remembering who you are, and those will keep showing up. And don't question it when it comes up, because the quickest way to make a ability go back dormant is to question it and judge it. Like, that's what Christianity, some Christian religions have done, that has made people say, oh, that's the demon, that's the devil. And then people get scared that they got a demon in them, and then they judge it, and the ability goes away, because the ability won't show up unless you're ready for it. So, make sure you don't judge it when it comes. Even if it's something that you haven't mastered and it shows up a little weird, like some people throw things with their mind, like they'll make things fall off shelves and it scares them. Don't judge it.
They're scaring themselves.
I got to get better at that.
Yeah. They're basically scaring themselves, basically. Because they just don't understand. But it's like this stuff that we can do, like the Markaba and everything like that. Like, because isn't that what the Cosmonauts are doing? Don't they have a Markaba and they're breaking through the atmosphere, taking on the elements? Like, it's almost like we look different ways in different planets then. Like in them. So if you and me would do the Markaba right now and, unlock the ability with traveling, by the time we get to somewhere else, we might be a different color even, a different kind of brown even.
You're right on point. Yes, you match the vibration of wherever you go. So you shapeshift. We talk about shapeshifters all the time, but that's an ability we all have. So when we see entities do it, we freak out, like, oh my God, they're shapeshifting. No, that's what they do. And a lot of times when you see people morphing on television, it's them shifting into a form that makes us feel more comfortable. And that's what you do when you go into other dimensions or other planets.
Yeah.
Morph into something that's more indigenous to those entities or those people. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be enough of us on this frequency. We're just waking up all over the place, It's just, we have to hold us together. And we have to really, like that's what I'm saying about the abilities. Like, we all have to get into meditation and really take it to the next level. Because I know ceremonies, it's all your thoughts going around and doing stuff for you, basically. Isn't it? Like, pretty much you're stepping outside. Yeah.
Ceremonies help you to focus. That's why ceremonies are used for people who need focus. That's what it helps you with. Tools are used to help you focus as well. When you get to a certain point, you will need neither. Okay? So that helps you at the beginning stages, But meditation, ceremonies, and tools are only being talked about doing to help people to focus. I know many people who don't. I'm not a meditator, and I'm just, I do it occasionally when I'm doing a clearing or something, but that's not my thing. And my ability to show up strong and valid, and but I also fast, so I also eat very clean.
You see, and your insides are completely like on a biomineral balance. So they're completely alkaline. Your insides,
and make sure
regardless.
And for the males, I speak to males on a general level. Males have to be mindful of the females they encounter, because we have a lot of succubus come in female form who will take some of that energy for us too. And if they're not healthy and they're eating unhealthy, remember, our skin is an organ, a big organ. You absorb whatever they are. People, and right now at this time, you are who you are around. So I'm seeing a lot of people morphing into their people around them. Be mindful of that energetically. There's a lot of succubus showing up right now. With the root chakra, that's where they're trying to get at you. So that hypersexuality, that hypersense of pulling you into that vortex that way, that's showing up a lot, because that's the only way they can get you now. They're trying to stop you before you get to the next level. Okay?
And it's not going to work, A lot of these people that are susceptible to that too, very susceptible, they might not even be, like you said, like people. But as far as our people, we are.
That is true.
Yeah.
Souls. They cannot have souls. You're right. They might just be empty eaters. Yeah, you're right.
and there's other souls too. There's like older souls, and then you have like newer souls, and it's like what'll become of like some of the youngest and the newer souls, because it's like the older souls without effort or seeming just be like, like someone press a button on your forehead, like you just like all of a sudden you're in effect, like. Yeah.
You got those on analog and you got those that are digital. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's what it's seeming like. But I see a lot of stuff that they're doing. Like you talked about the clones. Even my last thing is if you guys saw this commercial, and it's about the RFID chip, but they got the phone in the guy's chest. Like it's got like basically an iPhone.
Don't do it. Yeah.
Did you see it? Did you see these commercials? Because I was
seen them
trying to
put,
are they on TV? You've seen them,
but
right?
they're trying to put chips. Yeah, they're trying to put chips in people's arms. Scanning things so you can scan all your information on your arm. Also, people have to be careful with tattoos. A lot of the tattoos have metallic paints in it. You can go and get a vegan tattoo. There's one in Brooklyn. I don't know who's in New York. There's a great place called King's King. They do vegan tattoos. Be mindful of the ink that they put inside of you, because remember, that's a blood covenant. When you make agreement, make sure that symbol is on point with your vibration, because if you get a symbol like an ankh and you're not matching the ankh, you'll get the opposition of an ankh. I tell people that all the time.
Wow.
It's supposed to bring you life force, but if you are, an unsavory type of person and you got an ankh on you, it will do the opposition of that. That's a blood covenant. People got to be mindful of tattoos. If you have them, just make sure you close any vortex that might be open with that particular tattoo, or have it removed.
Yeah.
Even though the covenant's still
basically. That's a dangerous thing.
Yeah. Right now
it's not something. Yeah. I seen these things too. It's like you're talking about. They have like computer chip tattoos too, and then like they got people like walking around looking like robots and stuff. They got it's almost like a transhumanism to machines.
Yeah, they're getting you ready. Yeah, they're getting ready for what they bring in, because they know that there's not many people who are going to be here. So Terminator, the woman who wrote Sophia Stewart, who wrote movies that stimulated for the Matrix and Terminator, she talks about that.
Yeah.
Our world turning into like a computer program. That's a certain reality. Make sure you're permeating and rising your frequency above that reality, because that's going to be a reality for some people.
Wow.
And that's where they're going. So, you go to where your frequency matches, and when the physical pole shift occurs, we will all go to the time frequency and vibrational frequency place that we match. So if you still, and I'm sorry for all those I'm not good with Hennessy, because I got a lot of people I know who drink Hennessy, but I'm just saying the liquor right now, they're lowering the vibration of the liquor because it's a liquid. What they're doing is they're lowering it. If you keep doing things that are depreciative to your genealogy and to your peace of mind, you're going to be on that level where you're in that world with those other type of beings that are just as low vibrational, like more of a prison planet. So if you okay being there, then by all means, take a shot for me. But if you don't want to be there, you don't have to plan. You could be balanced. I'm not saying nobody should drink, but just drink to a level where you're balanced and you're not doing it daily. Because, again, that's wine and spirit. And you're susceptible for demon attachment.
Yeah, indeed. People should really make sure that they're fasting, too, because what's in there, what's going through your body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when you have, like, a lot of flesh in your body and you're drinking, that's when I see people act the wildest, is right then.
Well, they got
and they have...
Yeah. You got entities, fourth-dimensional entities that can attach.
I was seeing like last year, Spider-Man, they in their comic books, it was like a multiverse. They had like all different types of Spider-Man come to this one single universe to stop a family.
Which is, so the way they call it, the Marvel Crew. They just like, well, I can't say it to you because I really don't know. So it's kind of summing of what you're talking about and summing what I think.
Hello? Hold on. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi. My name is Thomas Castillo, El-Bey from Tampa. How y'all doing tonight?
Hey, Thomas. Hey.
How you doing, yo?
Peace.
And love.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to hear y'all opinion on this particular article I read some months back last year on Yahoo. It was talking about Spider-Man's comic book, and what was happening, it was like a multiverse different Spider-Men were coming to this one single universe to stop a family that was like that traveled interdimensionally, just killing off, sucking on like different special beings, I would say. That's the reality.
It can be a reality. If it's conceivable, it's believable. Yeah, absolutely. And they tell you a lot in comics. Comics is wrong. You can get a lot of gems out of comics and video games.
Yeah, I see they kind of like pushing a lot of comics or I don't know what's the particular reason. I think it's good and it's also like bad.
Everything is what you perceive it to be, you know? And be mindful of how, that's what I say, be mindful, your perception can change your reality, or your reality could be based on your perception. Either way, it's the same. Just be mindful of the things, exhaustive things. Double Blair goes into that. If you got to be, right now, because we're co-creating right now, we're almost fully manifesting quickly. Like if I think something, as much as, you know, you guys know I have a thing for coffee. That's just my thing. Like Starbucks. If I think about it, all of a sudden, it'll just show up in someone's hand, or someone will say, you know, you want to go get a coffee now. It'll just show up. So be mindful that things are manifesting quickly. Be mindful of the things in your head or those around who will put things in your head, and that will manifest through you. So, you know, anything you think, anything you play, anything you listen to, anybody you kiki with, just, you know, whatever they are, you are. They manifest. If they got debt issues, if they got money issues, and you don't, you will have their issues with debt if you hang around people of that frequency.
Right. I hear you 100%. I do the same out here.
Okay. Yeah, and you know, we got to start calling out our friends and making them accountable for things too in our world, you know, so that if you got people who don't understand that what's going on right now, just, you know, kindly share and see if they're receptive. If they're not, just keep it moving. They may not be ready. If so, share and allow them to grow, because that will help you if you want to be around them.
Right. Okay. And I agree 100% about the insectilian thing. I heard it before, and when you said it, I was like, oh, she knows exactly what she's talking about.
Some bugs, yo, those bugs. They bugging you. Why do you think they bug your phone? And why do you think they colonize? All these little terms they tell you top. They bugs, and bugs are very scientific. They're very meticulous. They're very meticulous, and they're very scientifically based. And that's who's been ruling. And the insects don't like, the only thing the insects don't like is the reptilians, because remember, reptiles eat insects. It just, you look in nature, that's what they do. So they're not necessarily to keep, but there's one group of Dracons working with the insectilians. There's only one group right now.
Wow.
Right. Wow. That's neat.
And start noticing there's a lot of people here, to my knowledge, there's a lot of our cosmic beings, melanated brown people that look like normal people walking around right now. So start being conscious of those energies around you, because a lot of them are here. And they're walking around, and they stay around those who are awake. They see your energy level, and they like to see, almost like observe you. So be mindful of that. Start looking around and watching people that are differently around, and a lot of them are brown people, a lot of them. So they look like normal people, but they're really cosmic beings, or interterrestrials, or interdimensional beings. There's so many different types, so it could be interdimensional.
Right, and also to look at a movie, District 9 showed the bugs.
Oh,
yes. Toys. So, also, what's the other movie where they was fighting? It was I think it was called Troopers, wasn't it? Is that the name of it?
Oh, Troopers. Oh, Star Troopers. Star Troopers with the bugs.
Yeah, Star Troopers. They showed them.
There you go.
Right, they showed them on there. So, yeah, there's several movies that keep showing over and over again that there's insectoids.
And notice how they show them. They usually show them not as insidious as all the other ETs. All the black ETs, they make them into Alien, Predator.
Right, Predator.
The crazy looking. Remember, the elongated heads and the melanated skin, that's us they're talking about with the dreadlocks. Predator had the dreadlocks and the melanated skin. You know, looking all crazy in the face. That's not what we look like, but they try to make him look like a monster. Same with aliens. The alien that was on a ship with Sigourney Weaver, he had a big melanated head, looked crazy. That's really our elongated head is our ancestors from, the times, Sumerian times, and so on. That's the depiction of us. They wish E.T. was brown. Look at him coming in the neighborhood. And I'm pissed. Oh, I'm sorry. Watch my words. I'm upset because, when I saw E.T., his eyes were brown. Now, I live close to Universal Studios. His eyes are blue. It totally upset me. I was confused.
Yep.
Yeah, I know that's simple, but that bothered me. I'm from that age. I like E.T. They made his eyes blue. It just got me, messed with me.
Well, I'm from the same age, so I can definitely sympathize with you about that.
Oh, man, leave me alone. I'm saying he's already fun looking. So start paying attention to them. They hear also their abilities. They're also, if you start using your mind to talk to people, because we can talk to each other now more strongly. I have more conversations with people now not speaking. Speaking is a very archaic form. We never used to do that before. So start talking to people in your minds, and when you're outside and you think you see a melanated star being, talk to them in your mind and watch how they'll turn and look at you. It'll bug you out. I'm telling you, they'll do it.
I be doing that. my cousin said you just freaked him out.
I be doing that, and somebody turn around and look at me like. Well,
I do that with people when I'm riding the car. In the car, I just look outside the window.
Good. Start doing that, and that's a way that a lot of other racial people, because they don't have a functioning pineal gland, they cannot do that. We have not all of them, but we as melanated people, we can easily do that amongst each other. That's why they don't like us to gather in big places together, because we have a lot of magnetic energy. That's why they always try to break up our groups when we're too close together, because we speak to each other subliminally and telepathically all the time. You ever see a brother and you just know he's up to no good, you just feel him. Yeah, you know him. You hear him. You hear him in his head thinking all kinds of insidious things. You know what to do when you see somebody like that. You can hear I can hear when someone's whispering about me, right behind me. I can hear it. I've had someone, I've ordered my coffee. I know I talked about this. I ordered my coffee. I was at a new coffee shop, and they didn't know me. People here know me, but they didn't know me, and I didn't say anything. And I had put the thought in their head. I have a specific coffee I drink every day for the last year, like 10 years. I just do. I drink the same coffee every day. And the lady who saw me, I didn't say anything out my mind. She said my order. And I said, how did you know that? She said, you just told me. I didn't open my mouth. I said it in her mind, and she got the order. That was wild. I only have one. Crazy. So. Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah. That's where we at. That's where we're at, gentlemen. So, we're not in Kansas anymore. So just be prepared. And this is also why, another reason why you're also seeing a lot of slayings visually on television is because I got a document, and I haven't verified it, but I will say I got a document sent to me by another white gentleman, and it talks about some of the paraphernalia they're giving to the police stations about black people showing extra abilities, that they need to be mindful that these black people may be showing things. So sometimes when we're seeing shootings, it's because they've been told that we may be able to do something kinetically. I don't know how verifiable this document. It looks legitimate, but I got to get people who I know who know
that's
this
the
is
truth.
real.
That's the truth. There's several articles that came out over the past year talking about how so-called whites feel that so-called blacks have superhuman powers.
Yeah.
So we know that based on those articles, we can make that small leap into knowing that has to be taking place, because why else would you have to shoot someone 40 and 50 times?
Absolutely.
In which it was exhibiting, in which that had you so frightened that you just like, look, I got to unload this gun, and damn this gun.
And also from one of my ET contactees, I did hear this much, is that because not all murders we're seeing are true. Some of this is, sometimes it's visuals they putting up to just put fear in us, but from some of those killings we're seeing of the little people, from what I'm hearing from my ET contacts, that they are killing ETs, that we don't know that they're galactic beings, but they know they're galactic beings, okay? That's why you're seeing them shooting them so many times, because they're not human.
Right. Exactly.
Okay?
Wow. Wow, I appreciate the phone call. It has confirmed a lot of things that's been like happening like in the astrals and also just with life in general. So I appreciate the show tonight.
Well, we appreciate you listening. So that's been a full experience right there for you to get on, get your questions answered, and and enjoy the show. So keep coming back and listening because we're gonna keep having some fire shows. So just bear with us, as we get through a lot of information because we got a whole lot more to share.
Yeah, there's a lot more. There's going to be more in the next couple of days. It'll be the last Christmas this year in the White House, so I'll just throw that out there. We'll leave that for another time.
Most definitely. Peace and love, guys and goddess.
Much love.
Peace. Much love. All right, so begin to close out. It's been a great show. We put out a lot of information tonight. I mean, these listeners, as you can hear, you confirming what they've already been thinking and what they've experienced. So, I mean, that's how you know that people are ready in order to hear this type of information because they already thought it, they already felt it, their soul already spoke to them about it. So, we're going to continue letting your soul speak, by listening to First World Radio. We appreciate each and every one for listening. And any closing remarks? Any further closing remarks before we go?
Peace, family. All I can say.
Peace, brother Al, no doubt.
And thank you again, brother. From checking in right here. Like I'm gonna call in next week too.
All right, appreciate that.
I'm gonna call in next week too. Yeah, because I had even more questions than that. Yeah.
All right.
Yes, and I thank you for having me on this platform. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And if anybody wants to, I'm on YouTube, which most people know me on. It's Fleurbrun, Fleurbrun, and you can always, I upload new information that I get in, and even if they don't want me to put it up, I'm gonna put it up anyway. So if you want anything to interest you, if you're in this world of the ETs, the melanated ETs, you feel free to check out me on YouTube or Anna on FB.
Is it FB? It's FB, right?
Right. So check her videos out because she has some date ones. So it probably will more than likely is going to answer a whole lot more questions for you. And she's putting them up a whole lot more than she's ever did before. So you better get a chance to check them out.
When they try to stop, I get mad and I put more up. Don't stop, can't stop. I'm from Mount Vernon. They can't stop me.
Exactly. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody for listening tonight. First World Radio, and we are out, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
All around the production.
Really say this the gift and the message. My music is the weapon when I use it on the reckless. Spaceship hovering throughout the whole region. Open up the sky and take the shortcut to Venus. Getting on my liver, it's a hard pill to swallow, like comparing your religion to it if the earth is hollow. No need to cry there and let it soak in your tomorrows. Let my music soak up all your bittersweet and sorrows. See the sun shining, I lay back and kick it. Staying sucker free is my new way of living. One day we get together, then we all start billing. But the ball that I dribble got me posting like Pippin. Champagne glasses around my organite pyramid. Glazing at the stars, show the kids where we really live. These solar flares got my DNA 12 stranded. Collect the kill trails and feed it to the man spraying. The Washita Moors, some of us we've been here to reunite the others and cool the world with wind chills. I put rap to the back for a good reason. 2012, 21 was a good season. Fake people get exposed just for who they are. Keep playing traffic in the highway with moving cars. My flow bring the fear of God to these modern rappers. They crawling backwards, kicking men in chest and hard to tackle. Ever since the kid went galactic, my center bracket reached the top and interacted with my solar status. The microphone to grab it, I guess it's just a habit. A living legend in your presence, sorta like the Mavericks. It ain't about me, nah, but it's about the future. A golden race is on and dealing with the cockadoodles. I sock it to you like a grandma and your mama used to. The final stage, I ride away just like it's Honolulu. I prove my old school, but since I stayed there, galactic conscious awareness, I got my grades there. See with the eye of Heru, no longer bending knees. My inner chiefs are in me when it's time to leave. This modern day crap, I don't even follow it. I'd rather symbolize my name up in the hieroglyphs. Declare peace without Battlestar Galactica. Footstepping backwards on my way back to Africa. The Washita Moors, some of us we've been here to reunite the others, to cool the world with wind chills. I put rap to the back for a good reason. 2012, 21 was a good season. Fake people get exposed just for who they are. Keep playing traffic in the highway with moving cars. My flow bring the fear of God to the modern rappers. They crawling backwards, kicking men in chest and hard attack to Washita Moors. Some of us we've been here to reunite the others, to cool the world with wind chills. I put rap to the back for a good reason. 2012, 21 was a good season. Fake people get exposed just for who they are. Keep playing traffic in the highway with moving cars. My flow bring the fear of God to the modern rappers. They crawling backwards, kicking men in chest and hard attack them.
Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Way early this morning, Brad Higdon shared a major spoiler alert from everyone's favorite hit show, sad emojis to express his feelings about the plot twist, and a playlist he made to drown out his sorrows? Dude, oversharing alert. Brad, Geico has something worth sharing with those who haven't befriended you. Like how you could save hundreds on your car insurance at Geico.com. So stop moping about the post-apocalyptic world and start saving in the real world. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.